In the end, all we are is our story. What is your story, and what do you want it to say about your life? I'm Ann C.K. Nickel, a living, walking miracle who is on a mission to transform 1 million lives, one story at a time. Help me reach my big, audacious goal by joining me each week as we discuss all things story. Welcome to the Story Shepherd Podcast. Hello, everyone. It's a new, beautiful day. This is Ann C.K. Nickel, the Story Shepherd, living life on the upside and sending blessings to you all for a wonderful new week full of possibilities. On today's show, I welcome Teresa Syms. Teresa is a personal development life coach who specializes in helping individuals who feel trapped in a no-win situation. Teresa knows what it's like to be broken and damaged. Her childhood was filled with abuse, violence, alcohol, sexual assault, and emotional trauma. Because of that personal knowledge and experience, her passion is strong for helping others break free of their challenges. Whether it's the weight of their past or the constraints of their present, her clients yearn for something more in life. She works closely with her clients to help them dismantle limiting beliefs and reprogram old habits and patterns while paving the way towards ultimate success. And through a blend of neurolinguistic programming, timeline therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, breakthrough point assessments, and motivational interviewing, Teresa empowers her clients to overcome obstacles and achieve their fullest potential. And Teresa is also an award-winning author for her book, A Century of Secrets. And she has created an ebook series called 6 Strategies for Living Life Full On, and several magazines have published her articles. And as you can tell by her bio, Teresa is an amazing woman doing great things in the world to help others. So thank you, Teresa, for being my honored guest today.
Thanks, Ann. It's such a pleasure to do this with you. It's an honor.
Thank you. Like I said, I'm so excited to have you here and to hear more about you and your story. And as we mentioned, you have experienced some trauma in your life, but you're using that experience and your vast knowledge to help others. So please tell us more about that and share your story with us.
Absolutely. Well, to start off, I was born in a small farming community in Ontario, Canada. I was born crippled, and at birth, my legs were straightened. I was born with club feet, both legs. I had a great doctor at the time. He straightened my legs. He got me walking, which led to me doing sports, which I was not supposed to do. Of course, protect the legs at all costs, but I did it anyway because I needed an outlet from the life I had at home, which was my father was an alcoholic. My mother had psychological issues, like intensely. And my sibling she was older than me and just seemed to have a hate for me for, I don't know what reason. There's a long story behind that, which I will share in my second book. But anyway, so those 3 people were my main abusers. I was beaten quite regularly. I had food withheld from me. When I was growing up, if I had 1 meal a day, I was lucky. It just things like that, and it didn't go well. So, and, she was always sending me to the doctor thinking I was the one that needed help. And my family doctor was actually sexually assaulting me. And I didn't know what those terms meant at that time. It's a long time ago and no one talked about that. And so, she passed away never knowing that. So it was just, you don't know where to go. So, of course, following in family traditions, I began drinking at the age of 14. It numbed everything, a lot of things. But, my mother had me on tranquilizers and antidepressants and all that sort of thing. And I mixed it with alcohol. what a bad concoction that was. And one night when I was 18, I attempted to end my own life behind the wheel of my father's car. And
No.
that was the first time that I heard my guardian angel. The car went off the road, aiming towards a tree. The tires hit the gravel. And then the next thing I knew, the steering wheel was pulled out of my hands and turned back onto the road, and the car stopped. And I heard the words, which are in my book, "You're not finished here yet." And I have shivers right now just
Well,
feeling that again.
I have goosebumps right now.
Those are the words I've heard many times throughout my life when I thought I couldn't continue, when I felt I couldn't continue, when my body, my being, my soul was so exhausted I couldn't continue on. Those words and those messages keep coming to me. And that's how I believe I have been given an immense gift. And my gift is to share the wisdom I have, the knowledge I have, the experiences I have with other people. When I was in my 20s, I got married and had a family. My spouse at the time, you go from one bad relationship to another, and it has to deal with patterns of our lives, right? Habits, patterns, and all that sort of thing. My spouse for 25 years was not the best person in the world. He was emotionally absent from the marriage. There was a lot of psychological abuse. I got to the point where I couldn't walk across a restaurant. I was so afraid someone was going to see me. I couldn't handle it. He was extremely jealous. So anyway, after 25 years, I walked away from it. And what a liberating experience. I was 43 years old. First time in my life I lived on my own. I went to college, got my certificate in HR, met another great man a little while later. And in 2006, we were married. The best person I could honestly have in my life. So supportive, so loving, so kind, and so compassionate and understanding. He was an abused spouse as well. So, there's a lot to be said for men that are abused as well.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I was going home from work about 8 months later. In our Ontario, we used to have some really severe snowstorms, and it was a February day, and there was a horrible storm that blew in. But I was driving a Dodge Ram. I was confident in my driving abilities, my truck, all that sort of thing. But what I wasn't confident in was the other people on the road. I saw someone coming towards me that was losing control of their pickup truck. So I stopped in my lane and I waited. There was nowhere for me to go. It was a country road. I couldn't get off the road, sat there, waited, death grip on the steering wheel, as I call it, foot on the brake so hard that my leg was locked in place. And yeah, I watched her go off the road several times, come back on, go off the road, flip around backwards in front of me. And then the impact hit.
Oh no.
I couldn't feel my legs. My knee slammed once my leg moved, it buckled and my knee slammed into the dash. There was a dent in the dash. And Dodge Rams were built with steel frames. She had hit me so hard, she knocked the frame 8 inches back into the truck. It was, there was a lot of damage done to it, but I was the damage inside the truck. What they don't tell you was the truck doesn't absorb the shock or the impact. Whatever is inside does. The stereo cover popped off and landed in the back seat. It was just, I couldn't get out. Someone behind me came up and asked if I was okay. And I, panicky said, no, can't feel my legs, can't get out, can't move. And then he came back and he said, I smell fuel. And I started to panic, thinking something was going to blow up. Everything that goes through your mind, right, at those points of time. The lady that hit me, she got out of her truck and was wandering around. Mind you, I realized it was shock, it was adrenaline, it was all those sorts of things. Now I realize that. But at the time, why is she walking and I can't move and I got hit? Anyway, it's the stories that go through our heads, right? Well, I had spent 9 hours in the ER, went home with a neck that was as delicate as a piece of spaghetti trying to hold a bowling ball.
Oh
And,
no.
because it was just more neck trauma, more spine damage from, my younger years of working on farms and things like that. It took a toll. But I lost my position 3 days later because I couldn't get up the flight of stairs that I had to go to work to. So I lost my job
Oh no.
and spent the next 9 years recovering with all the injuries. Found out I had brain injury, soft tissue damage all over my body. My knee is a mess. It keeps going, but we're not finished here yet. So I decided to finally write the book that I have wanted to write all my life. And I believed it was a story about my grandmother and her struggles when she came to Canada from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm writing it with a coat, I'm writing it, I get it finished. And then I discover that the story isn't about her. It's about 4 generations of my family, the women in my family. I'm the 4th. And I believed it was my father, but then the next book will explain it's not my father. It was actually my mother. And so anyway, the struggles that they all went through. So I wrote the book, and then I found an authorship coach out of Utah. They're a company called Achieve Today. They were doing this authorship program with Joe Vitale at the time. So teach you how to write hypnotically to draw the readers in. It was fabulous work. I rewrote my book in 3 months, and it's a 592-page book. So there's 4 sections, right? So 4 different stories. So when I was finished writing it and he had read it, he said to me, "Have you ever considered coaching?" And I said, "Yeah, I've thought about it because all my life, people have come to me. People have dropped their problems at my door. People have needed guidance. People have asked for help. It seemed like a good choice." So I did my first coaching certification with them. And it just transformed my life, transformed my world. It gave me a purpose. It brought into play everything I've always wanted to do in my life. And I didn't have to say, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. Because no, I was being guided to do this. So does that, and then 2021, I was taking a step. We have our Thanksgiving in October. We had company that weekend. 2 days later, I was going out on my back deck and missed the step because of my knee injury.
Oh, no.
So I went out, and I was 5'8" at the time, 5'9" at the time. Went out my height and went down 4 steps and landed flat on my behind, kind of in a V sit where they, Pilates V sit.
Mm-hmm. Ouch.
Yeah. I could not move. I couldn't breathe. All I needed to do was get up, get to the house, get to the phone, the couch, call my husband to come home from work. It was early in the morning, 9:30 in the morning. There was no one around that I couldn't yell. I couldn't speak. And I knew I had done something really severe. My back was a disaster. The pain I've had children. I've had reconstructive surgery on my one foot several times. I have never had pain in my life like this.
Oh, no.
I sat there for I don't know how long and just prayed, let me get to the phone. That's all I need to do. All of a sudden, I turned around, I crawled up the stairs, I got to the phone, got to the couch, called my husband. Well, it was the EMTs here in the city I live in, the small city I live in. There's a drug problem going on with, people wanting Oxycontins or whatever the case may be for whatever the reason may be. So they're very leery about giving any kinds of medication out, which I can understand and appreciate. But when they put me I had been laying on the couch for a while. They gave me an option of, you can walk out to the stretcher in the driveway, or we can carry you out in a chair. And I said, you can't jiggle me. I can't take that.
Mm-hmm.
So my stubbornness, my determination, my survival techniques or skills, whatever you want to call them, kicked into high gear. And I said, I'm walking out. Walked out down the stairs to the back door where the stretcher was. I got to the stretcher and I started to shake uncontrollably. I said, look, I'm going into shock.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're not, honey. You're just cold. No, I said to them, I'm going into shock. We'll give you a warm blanket when we get you in the ambulance. I said, fine.
Oh my
So
gosh.
on the stretcher, they made me lay on my back, which was awful, painful. I wasn't even aware I was crying. My eyes were just watering something fierce. And this went on for hours. I couldn't control it. To me, it was my soul was crying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way I felt. Got into the ER at the hospital. They left me in a hallway and said, well, if you need to use the bathroom, it's down that hall over there.
Oh my gosh. They
Okay.
just leave
So
you there.
they didn't believe me, is what it turns out to be. So finally, they put me in a little curtain cubicle, and doctor looked at me. He said, I have to go help this other person. I'll be back. Okay. So anyway, 4 hours later, he comes back and decides he's going to do an x-ray of my back. They did wheel me there, so I didn't have to walk, which was good. But I had to lay on the hard x-ray table. They wouldn't stand it up, all this sort of thing. Whatever the case may be, it happened. I get back to my little cubicle and the doctor comes over and he's total change in demeanor. He said, you have a compression fracture of your T12 vertebrae. I said, I know.
I could have told you that.
Could have saved us a lot of problems 4 hours ago. But anyway, they have their process, I guess. So, he gave me a shot of morphine, gave me a prescription, sent me home. Rest. That was it.
That was it.
That was it. So 2 weeks later, my husband drove me to our family doctor, which is an hour away. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. The stubbornness, right, comes into play a lot with. Anyway, rest, no exercise, no stretching, which after my injuries from the car accident, I have to stretch every day to keep functionable and moving and out of pain. So no stretching, no chiropractic, no massage for a while, nothing, just rest. Okay, well, that just about drove me crazy, but there's a lot of TV shows I rewatched and did some reading and slept a lot. But anyway, it's amazing what happens to us, but yet the lessons are within the learnings are within those lessons and those happenings and those events and experiences. And that's what I draw on every day.
Wow. Well, you sounds like you have a lot to draw on. Sadly, you have a lot to draw on. That is a lot for one person.
Well,
So,
it's, I've been thinking about it, and we had spoke before we started recording about the habits and the patterns and the way life leads you and the directions you go in. If you're not paying attention, the cycles rehappen.
yes.
And I was so adamant the cycles were not going to keep going, and yet they did. Take the lessons out of everything, take the learnings, and just make the changes.
Yes, that's great advice. Yeah. I mean, you have to, because we all go through things. We all have obstacles that we have to overcome. And if you don't get any lessons from that, if you don't learn anything from that, like you said, you just sort of repeat the patterns, and it's easy to go down a rabbit hole if you
Absolutely.
focus only on the bad and don't find any lessons or things you can learn from everything you go through. So,
Absolutely. And one thing I did learn after the car accident was a major thing for me was to advocate for myself in my own medical care.
oh, yes.
It's so important that I taught my family doctor, who's just a regular GP, not just, but he is a regular GP,
Hmm.
about pain management, about how to deal with insurance companies, how to deal with lawyers, with all this stuff that went on. You know, I was being sent to doctors by the insurance companies that, said I have full range of motion in my arms when I couldn't even dress myself that morning because I couldn't lift my arm. They were just nitpicking at everything. And I was the victim in all of that. And it was
Hmm.
just ridiculous what they put you through. But my husband went with me to every appointment. We took notes, like detailed notes of every question asked, every time they did something, everything the suggested I try, all these different things, my responses, everything. My lawyer said to me, "You should write a book about this. Just take this and write a book." And I said, "Yep." He's like, "Well, you're halfway there with everything you wrote us," but it was very detailed because they had to defend me and I shouldn't have
Hmm.
to have defended myself at that point in time. But you'll learn these lessons about speaking up. And, they sent me to a psychiatrist trying to say that I was, not in my right frame of mind when I was driving home. My vehicle was stopped. I was in full control of my vehicle. Don't hand me that
Hmm.
business. I walked out of that assessment. I would not stay. Just because they said I
Hmm.
had to go doesn't mean I had to stay. It's important that we speak up for ourselves.
Hmm.
And when you feel something isn't right, speak up, say something. Do it kindly, do it in a nice, compassionate way, but defend yourself.
Great advice. Yes, so many of us, especially women, don't do that enough. And like you said, you have doctors, lawyers, and people who, we're all taught to respect and know their authority, but that doesn't mean they are right in every situation. And they don't really know your situation. So,
Exactly.
yes, learn to defend yourself, speak up for yourself. That's wonderful advice.
Well, I had to go through the insurance, the trial, or not a trial, but it took 5 years to settle this lawsuit from the accident. And during that time, I had to sit through a 7-hour discovery. They pulled up everything about what my weight was 10 years prior to the accident.
What?
I refused to answer that question because what did that have to do with anything?
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
So just silly things. But like I say, if it doesn't sit right in your gut, then it isn't right.
Well, I'm glad you did. You stood up for yourself, and you've done that a lot through your life. You have learned to stand up for yourself and defend yourself. And I mean, it's sad that you had to, that you were in those situations, but wow, you are a strong, strong woman.
Thank you, Ann. But it comes to a point where I had decided that I had been in survival mode too many years. It was time to shut that off and retrain myself to just accept life and build the life that I want to have, the one that jazzes me up, the one that inspires me. Mind you, I have several physical limitations nowadays that don't allow me to do what I want to do, but I still have a lot of things I can enjoy and things I can experience. So that's what I focus on. And learning for me is a big one, obviously.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. And it's good that you look at it that way. Like I said, there's so many of us who don't face our obstacles that way. And we just get dragged down by them, which I did for years too, until I learned there had to be a better way. And so I'm glad that you learned that. Sounds like you learned that a long time ago and now use it to help others.
Well, I
Um,
knew it a long time ago. I didn't actually learn it a long time ago. I didn't implement it. It's taken me a long time to get through my own stubbornness to accept the fact that it doesn't have to be this way. And I can say
mhm.
that, but actually doing it is something totally different. So now I'm actually doing it and living it. So it's completely different. So
That's true. There is a difference.
Subtle, but
Um,
there is a difference.
yeah, there is a difference. And so, like I said, we've talked about you've taken all of this and have used it in a wonderful way to help others. So what do you love, I guess, most about the coaching? Just the helping others? Is there certain things, aspects of it?
What I'm finding now is, since I've done my practitioner level of timeline therapy in May, I began utilizing it with my clients immediately. And it's to remove the main 5 negative emotions, and then to remove negative and limiting beliefs or limiting decisions. Once I started doing that work, it clicked for me that that is one area I really love to focus on, because you can see the transformation. You can hear it. I'm very observant, and I get called out on that a lot because it sometimes makes people comfortable who maybe they have something to hide. I don't know. But I see things, I watch, I observe, and that's how I understand people. And I can immediately see the transformation in my clients when doing this work with them. And that's the tell all for me that I know I'm on the right track. I'm on the right path. And this is meaningful work. And it happens quickly too, which is the nice part, because a lot of people don't want to spend the time with a coach. They don't want to invest in a coach. Okay, fine. There's obvious reasons for that, whatever they may be. But this program that I have now can make the change in your life in 4 sessions. And
Oh,
it's
wow.
all about removing the negative emotions. And trust me, it's the 5 main negative emotions: anger, fear, sadness, hurt, and guilt. And those really, we all have those at times, a lot. There are 100 or so other negative emotions that we can call into play, that, if they resonate with you, if you feel that at any point in time, that's also affecting you. So we clear those out. And then you go into removing negative emotions, sorry, not negative emotions, limiting beliefs and limiting decisions. And then once those are done, that can happen in one session. It's a 2 to 3 hour session, mind you, but it is so value packed and so transformative. It's unbelievable. But I've done the work myself. Last year, I left a job that just about destroyed me. I thought I'd do the 9 to 5 thing again. What a mistake that was. Then I had a young relative that was here visiting from Belgium a couple of years ago. He passed away in his sleep. Then I found out my brother had passed away. And then a month later, we lost our one dog. Grief was just everything I ate, slept, and breathed for quite a while. So I reached out to a coach I had interviewed several years ago on my podcast, and she walked me through the timeline therapy aspect. And that was a game changer for me. So everything I use with my clients or work with my clients on, I have experienced myself. So I know the value behind it. If I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't be doing it.
That's amazing. It sounds very powerful. I love that. And so what would you say is the best thing that has happened to you since you started pursuing that new passion and purpose in your life and helping others?
I think it's a couple of different things. It's understanding myself and giving myself permission to be who I was meant to be, not who someone else expects me to be, or who I should be, or who I think I should be. No, I am who I am. And if you don't like it, that's not my problem, right? It's an issue that the other person may have. There's something about me that's triggering them. It could be me, but I can't change how it affects someone else. So it's understanding myself, seeing my own self-worth, and understanding and finally accepting my gifts.
Wow, I love that. That is it. That's wonderful. It's so important. You know, a lot of people don't realize how important that is. Self-worth, self-love, and self-kindness are the new big ones for me. And like you said, learning to accept yourself as you are.
And
That's
it's time that I decided it was time to stop living in survivor mode and it was time to thrive. Absolutely
yes,
time to thrive.
that's awesome. I'm so happy for you.
Thanks, Anne.
This is something I talk about a lot on the podcast. Of course, it's all about stories, and I believe our stories matter, but that mindset and gratitude are vital to writing a beautiful life story movie. So tell us a little bit about how those two things, mindset and gratitude, have played a part in your story.
Gratitude didn't take a place in my life until about 4 or 5 years ago. You always hear about it. It just didn't, it was just words to me. Then once I decided that I had gone through all these things, there is value in everything that happened to me. Yes, it was horrific. It was not fun to experience or live with or live through or to survive through. But once I put the emotional side of that away and took a look at the lessons that were there, that helped me to see where the gratitude could fit. So gratitude for me is quite a good thing. I mean, I am so grateful for everything that I have, because had I ended my life when I was 18, none of this would exist. I wouldn't have children. I wouldn't have grandchildren. I, wouldn't be doing the work I'm doing, which is my passion. It is my love. I wouldn't have the spouse I have now. But mindset sometimes can be a double-edged sword. In my younger life, mindset, trust me, I used to negotiate labor contracts when I was in my 20s. Mindset was one thing, and it was, tunnel driven, very focused, and no one walked over me after a
Mm-hmm.
point in time. And that was not a good mindset to have. Trust me, it didn't. What's the term? Win friends and influence people, or something along that line.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. But the mindset I have now is one where I am learning and have put myself first, foremost in everything that I do. If I can't look, and it took 64 years to figure this out. If I can't be here for myself, I can't be here for anyone else. I was running on empty all the years I was a young mom, working mom, trying to, deal with a farm, all that kind of stuff, look after my elderly grandmother. I was burned out and didn't even know it. But
Mm-hmm.
now going back into the mindset, it taught me how to focus on what's important for me, how to find out who I am, what I stand for, and what I bring to this world.
Oh, that's good. I love it. And it's great advice for other people, because what is the saying? You can't fill from an empty cup.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, you do. You have to think about yourself first. And it may feel selfish until you get used to that and realize it really isn't selfish at all. Because like
It's
you
not.
said, no, if you don't take care of yourself, how can you help others?
And that's
So
why, as a lot of young moms are in the same situation. They come out of, if they're not working outside of the home, I'll phrase that, because we work darn hard inside of our home, looking after the house and the kids and everything else.
yes.
If we're not looking after ourselves and we're running dry, what's left? They have no idea when they come out of that phase who they are. I
Wow.
think that's why a lot of them are searching so much. I searched and I wasn't in my 20s, 30s. I was in my 40s and 50s, and I was still searching because I hadn't done the work to figure it out. When I wouldn't have listened anyway, I guess, honestly, because when I was in that survival mode, nothing penetrated the mindset, because it was just survive, get through it,
Mm-hmm.
deal with it, and be quiet about it. Now I'm
Oh,
not quiet about it.
And it's a good thing you're not. I'm glad you're not. Because if we're quiet, we can't help anybody else either.
Exactly, exactly. But to those that are, coming out of long-term marriages as well, like I did, I had no clue who I
Mhm.
was, what I stood for, what I was supposed to be doing. You spend all your energy looking after everybody else. And then what?
Exactly. Then you're on your own and trying to figure it out. Yeah, I went through that same thing, and you go through that stage of just quietly sitting around wondering, what do I do now? So yeah, I've
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah. What's my purpose? Where do I belong? Where do I fit? What do I do now? Like that's, I would love to be able to coach women on that. And I do coach some women on that, from transitioning from one phase in their life to another, or one career to another. What do you really want to do? Are you in this job because you accepted it? It's going to kill you because it's not serving your purpose. Let's figure out what can jazz you up, what can bring life back into you, bring the energy back in, and the joy and the happiness will build after that.
Oh, yes. That's how it should be. Like I said, we shouldn't be just accepting something as is if it doesn't make us happy. More people need to focus on that.
I agree.
Okay, so next question. What is your favorite book and tell us why?
Well, my favorite book is one that my actual coach turned me on to, and it's called The Untethered Soul: The Journey Beyond Yourself. And it's written by Michael A. Singer. Great book. When I was reading this book, and I can't really relate the experiences I had, except for the fact that the book spoke to me. It spoke to parts of me that were laying dormant. And maybe
Mhm.
when I started reading this book, and this is what brought the shift about, that is when it happened, actually. Yes, now that I'm thinking about it, it just creates such an awakening, such an awareness of what's going on, what you've been avoiding, what you felt you couldn't look at, and then how to set it free, which is really the cool part of it. So there is a quote from a yogi in the beginning of the book, which basically encompasses what I would say if I could speak as well as this gentleman did. So it's by Yogi Amrit Desai. Phrase he puts in the book is, "This is a seminal book that, quite frankly, is in a class by itself. In a simple yet paradoxically profound way, Michael Singer takes the reader on a journey that begins with consciousness tethered to the ego and ends having us taken beyond our myopic, contained self image to a state of inner freedom and liberation. Michael Singer's book is a priceless gift to all who have futilely searched and yearned for a richer, more meaningful, creative life." And it is true. I would highly recommend this book.
I love that. Yeah, it sounds like a book everyone needs to read.
I agree. It's one my coach recommended. She said when she read it, it just brought so much awareness to her being.
That sounds great. I'm definitely adding that one to my list.
I'll send you
So-
the title.
Okay, perfect. The list is growing. Yes,
Yeah, we have to get through these lists.
yes, we do. Okay, so now tell us, you coach, but you said you've had great coaches. And so what is the best piece of advice you've received?
I think there's a couple, it's twofold with that one. It's to stop everything that you're doing at a given moment. Breathe, close your eyes, stop, breathe, breathe deeply into your being, and to look inside into your unconscious mind, not your conscious mind. Your conscious mind tells you stories, tells you what you want to hear, lies to you all the time. It's not a reliable source of information, trust me. Go into your unconscious mind and ask the questions that you need answers to, because the unconscious mind does hold the answers. Might not be what you want to hear all the time, but it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I would do that. So the answers are there. Be patient, be kind and be compassionate and be that to yourself first.
Oh, love that. That's great advice. And it's very deep advice.
I guess that's kind of how I am sometimes.
Hey,
But
there's
it is the
nothing
truth.
wrong with that.
Yeah, it is the truth. I mean, the unconscious mind does hold the key to all the questions we have. We just
Mhm.
have to tap into it. And it's not that difficult to do.
No, it just takes some lessons and some practice, really, and
Absolutely.
focus.
Absolutely. And that's what the beauty of timeline therapy is. It's all dealing with the unconscious mind.
That's wonderful. I love it. And so now give the audience one more piece of advice you think that can help them transform their own life story.
I think for me, it would be ask yourself what you truly want. Be patient. It won't happen overnight. It didn't get this way overnight. It's not going to be solved overnight. Pull a team together if you need people that will help. And I don't mean sympathy. Yes, sympathy. No, there's a difference between sympathy and compassion. People that, that not going to cry in your bowl with you kind of people, but people who will be there to listen, support, and offer guidance if needed, or just to listen. It's a journey. And if you want to find the other side,
Thank you. I love that.
you're welcome.
Wonderful advice. And so now tell us how the listeners can find you, learn more about you and what you teach, about your coaching, your books, all that. Where can they go to find out about that?
Okay. My website is teresasyms.com. So that's TERESASYMS.com. The email
Okay.
address I've kept very simple, teresa@teresasyms.com. Please email me, get in touch. They can find me on Facebook. I have a couple different pages there. I have a regular page, my coaching page, my author page. Get in touch. I'd love to share my work with you. My website is being transformed at the moment. We're uploading the programs there now. I have also a YouTube channel where I host and will be continuing hosting my podcast, Powering Through Life, on. So I'm very findable, I guess, under my own name and under Powering Through Life. So they could reach me that way. I'm on LinkedIn, several different places. So
Okay.
they can always find me. Google my name and you'll find me. My books are on Amazon.com, Amazon.ca. My series of ebooks will be up there shortly. So that's exciting and fun as well. And
Congrats. That's wonderful.
yeah, well, it started out with 6 strategies and now it's morphed into 10. So I think there's going to be another series coming along after that. But it's just,
Perfect.
yeah. So
More
I
ways to
am
help
findable.
people. Awesome. Well, I will add those links to the episode notes. So for those who are listening, check out the episode notes and you'll find the links for Teresa. And once again, thank you so much for being my honored guest today. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the story you were willing to share with us. I know sometimes that's not easy, so thank you for that. And thank you for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge with us.
You're
So
very welcome, Amy.
thank you. I know that the audience will definitely get something from this. So thank you again. And thank you also to my amazing audience for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something from my interview here with Teresa. As you can tell, she is a wonderful woman full of knowledge. And so, all of you out there listening, keep creating your epic life story movie. And please join me next time as we continue transforming lives one story at a time.